the back side, but you can kind of... naturally kind of came together, and then afterwards I was like, yeah, it actually looks good. So if you want to do this project as well, hey everyone, my name is Karina and I'm the knitwear designer behind Wilderness Knits, and this is my little knitting podcast about my current projects and anything that I finished, and yeah, also talking about my patterns in a little bit more detail and maybe some books that I've read recently. So I hope you can get comfortable and maybe have some kind of beverage of your choice, and yeah, let's get on to it. So the first thing that I want to mention is a new pattern that I just released. It's called the Fairbroom Cardigan. It's here behind me. It's this Fair Isle top-down cardigan. It has these little birds and flowers and like rose petals at the top. And so you can see it's a yoke sweater. So the pattern is around the neck, and then there's also this darker color on the edges of sleeves and also at the bottom, which I think came out quite nice. And yeah, so this pattern is now available on Ravelry, and you can see some projects from my test knitters. Some of them chose to knit longer sleeves and also chose different color schemes. Some are more fall like, and then there's also one version which I like, which is more winter colors, so like blues and greens. So yeah, if you want to go and check it out. We'll be happy if you like this pattern and maybe purchase it. So and then I also wanted to talk about a project that I finished this summer. I haven't been very active on social media or YouTube over the last few months. I have mostly been gardening and kind of saving my energy for other activities other than knitting. It's been very hot in here, so hot around here in upstate New York, so I just didn't feel like knitting a lot. I didn't really do any summer projects that much. I made this shawl, which I guess you could say it's kind of like a summer project, but I mean, I've been using it now more than before, and I'm probably going to be using it in the winter time the most. It's this crescent shawl. It has these kind of vines pattern at the bottom. I used yarn by Oysters and Pearls, which is more kind of variegated, which is not very typical for me, but I actually really loved this project. The pattern is called Lady of the Lake. It's my own pattern. You can also find it on Ravelry or on my website. So if you want to do this project as well, you definitely can. I did some modifications this time because this is the second time that I was knitting this. And what I did was around here I kind of changed the cable while I was knitting this, and I improvised, kind of did like a free-form cable here, so that kind of falls on your shoulders. I can show this to you as well, which is probably gonna be better. So yeah, as you can see, this is the modified cable that I have on the shoulders. Yeah, it's really cozy. It's wool, DK weight. I believe there's some alpaca in it too. But yeah, I've been using it quite a bit in the evenings when I just want to go get cozy and sit down and knit. So I'll kind of wrap myself in this nice shawl. It's nice and big, and it's gonna be great in the winter time. You know, you can kind of wear it either around your shoulders or kind of reverse it and maybe put it like this in the winter time, like over a coat or something. Yeah, I could probably wear it a couple of different ways. I really love the color as well. So I'm quite happy with this project. So yeah, that one I wanted to show you. That was my big project for this summer. And then I also started working on another project pretty recently. I decided that I wanted to knit with some kind of thicker yarn, and this is worsted weight yarn. It's Erika Knight maxi wool. Still waiting for it to focus. There we go. It's worsted weight. It's 100% wool from Great Britain. And I purchased this yarn so that I could knit a specific design by Erika Knight, which is this jacket on the at the front of her book Texture, and the pattern is called Thicket. I guess it's like, you know, thick jacket, Thicket. And I just really like the brioche stitch that's used there. The kind of the way it's constructed. You knit it bottom up in pieces. So right now I'm working on the back, and you know, it looks kind of intimidating because it's a huge, it looks big, right? It's a big jacket, but I really like the design, and I just thought it looks so cozy, and I thought that would be great to have such a jacket for the winter time. So I casted it on, and it goes really fast. I think I started it like a week and a half ago maybe, and yeah, I already have a pretty big piece here. So you know, that's gonna be the back side, but you can kind of gauge the how big the stitch pattern is when you compare it to the sweater that I'm wearing. It goes fast. It's really satisfying, and I love the brioche stitch here. There's like, you do 2 increases on each side of this, what do you call it, like a stripe or something, and then on each side you're decreasing 2 stitches as well on each side. So that creates this nice diagonal pattern, and then just has like a split hem, which I also find is quite interesting. And yeah, so that's what I've been kind of working on in the evenings. And then I have another pattern that's that I'm working on, that I've mentioned a couple of times, and I'm a little bit embarrassed of how long it's taking, but yeah, so this one, deep sea sweater, turtleneck sweater. So this one is now back from editing, so all I need to do is review the edits and decide on a couple of details that I need to change, and then it's gonna be finally ready for test knitting. I'm not gonna say when, because I feel like every time I say when, it's never gonna happen. So I'm just gonna not say when, because I'm gonna jinx it probably. And I'm just trying to kind of preserve my energy and focus on what I want to do in the moment versus planning everything out too much, because when you have a toddler and you're working and everything else, it's just really hard to plan out your, free time knitwear designing. Unless you're like really focused on it, which I admittedly haven't been this year, but it's okay. Then another project I finished this summer, it's a pillow that I've made using punch needle and some like leftover yarns, and I think it came out really well. It's been a while since I finished it, but looks like this. Actually, this is how it's supposed to look. It's kind of abstract, but a little bit like you can tell that there's like sea and like a sunset. That was the inspiration behind it. It's my own pattern that I kind of came up with. And yeah, then I finished it by sewing, and there's like no buttons. This is just kind of like an easy pattern to just put it in without any buttons. So yeah, but it's also 100% wool, so it's very warm, and I really like the texture. I think punch needle makes really nice pillows, and I would like to do more of it. Maybe some kind of like Christmas patterns, or maybe like some fall leaves. That would be really fun. If I find the time, and yeah, if I dedicate it to it. Because I always have so many different ideas that it's hard to just focus on one at a time. And yeah, also, so what you see behind me, that's a wreath that I made yesterday, just by foraging in our backyard. So I just picked up some hydrangeas and some like oak leaves and branches of roses. Yeah, I think it came out quite well. I'm gonna show you in more detail. I love doing these kind of fall themed decorations in my home and during Christmas as well. Just using all natural materials. I know that it's kind of ephemeral, so it will, eventually it will kind of fall apart, but that's okay. And it kind of gives you an opportunity to create something new every year. So I also wanted to mention some of the books that I've been reading lately, because I think they are quite helpful, and they can be applied in knitting as well, or any other crafts that you're dedicating your time to. So the first book that I want to mention that I've been reading lately is called Coming Home to Yourself, and it's by Osho. It's spelled like this. And this is a meditator's guide to blissful living, but I think it's interesting for anyone, even if you don't meditate, which I only recently started to do, and I'm not that great at it yet, but I think it can be really helpful. So one of the thoughts that really seemed memorable to me was to try to look at things as they are without judgment. I feel like this is really hard, at least for me. And for example, when I'm designing a pattern and I'm in the first stages of creating it, I tend to really get stuck when I think too much about it, and I start judging it, and I start to think about how is this going to be constructed, and will people like knitting it this way, or should I maybe do it some other way that's like easier, or it's preferred by knitters more, in general. Let's say, bottom up versus top down. I know most people like top down, but it doesn't always work that well with some designs. But sometimes I just get really stuck in these details of really judgment versus just kind of feeling it out and trusting the process more. And I feel like this is kind of along the lines of what this book is teaching me, is to trust the process, to look at things without judgment. And I think that once you do that, and once you also kind of learn to sit in silence, and like have thoughts, but accept those thoughts and move on, then I think that that's where the creativity really hits, and you can reach that state of flow. And that's really when you get the like, I don't know if the best results is probably not the best word, but like maybe the word is more like authentic results. And that's actually what happened with this wreath. Is this is not something that I made for anybody. This is not right. I didn't make it to impress someone or to like post a picture of it or something, but just I created it for our home, and I wasn't really thinking about like how it's gonna look like, or I wasn't like strategizing about it. I just had a bunch of things that I liked, and I was putting them together, and I get into that state of flow because I wasn't like judging anything. I was just kind of putting it together, and it just naturally kind of came together. And then afterwards I was like, yeah, it actually looks good. But it just came like, it was authentic. Yeah. While sometimes like when I'm designing patterns, I get kind of like in that state of being stuck. Yeah. So that's just something I wanted to mention. I didn't finish this book yet, but I would recommend it to anyone who's interested in meditating and yoga, anything like that. Then I'm also reading on and off this book about everyday self-care, which is also quite nice. If you struggle with the everyday and you don't always feel maybe grateful, it doesn't come naturally to you to be grateful. So there's a lot of like different exercises, like affirmation exercise, or something about like noticing your strengths, or a lot of different like advice about even your body, or some like daily stretches, some advice about eating healthy. It's just like something that I don't think that you read all at once, but it's nice to just open it once in a while, and it kind of puts you in a better mood. At least that's how it works for me. And then the last book that I've been kind of reading on and off is this Pocket of Gratitude, and that's very similar. Maybe you could read it from the beginning to end, but I've just been kind of opening it in. And as it seems to be my new tradition with these podcasts, my battery ran out, so this is why I say goodbye, and maybe I'll see you in my next podcast. And maybe you'll enjoy some of the footage from my area, Upstate New York. The fall is coming, and you can see the evidence everywhere now. So I guess we'll have to goodbye to summer too. So with this, I'm gonna say goodbye.